What's up, YouTube? I'm Brad Browning, aka Breakup Brad, your relationship and breakup coach for almost 15 years now. Today, we're going to talk about regret, and specifically your ex's regret over ending the relationship. Now, if you've recently gone through a breakup, then I know that you're feeling pretty intense feelings towards your ex right now. You know, you love them, you're angry at them, and most of all, you want them to regret the breakup, to realize how valuable you are, and to come running back to you. So, you know, maybe you've been reaching out to them and trying to reason with them to get them to change their mind about the breakup. Maybe you're sending them pictures, bringing up happy memories. You know, maybe you're just spamming their phone, trying to get them to just, talk to you. Now, I understand where you're at with this. So many people come to me with a similar story. You know, it's such a natural reaction to a breakup. But really, you need to take a second and look at things from another perspective. Your ex's perspective. Now, your ex cares about you, sure, but they care about themselves more. This is just human nature, and from their perspective, you and the relationship are causing them pain and confusion, and so they're probably trying to keep their distance. They don't want to be with you, and as much as that hurts, you do have to accept that for now. Because when it comes to attraction, seduction, whatever you want to call it, the most important thing is the other person's perspective. So think about it this way. Each of us sees life through our own individual lens. It may seem like a small thing, but it completely changes how we view the world. So if you take you and your ex, for example, you experience the same relationship from two totally different perspectives. You each come into it with your own baggage, your own history, your own preferences, wants, and needs. And when you have conflict, this is almost always the driving force behind it. It's because you don't understand that they don't see things the way you do. Really, nobody can. And this is where the breakup comes in. You think if you can just explain things to them, then they're going to understand what went wrong and how you can fix it. But the problem is that you're operating with very different lenses right now. You're seeing this relationship and each other in very different ways. I mean, there are, of course, a million subtleties here, but even if you look at it on a very basic level, your ex and you are very far apart in terms of your outlook. Even if we can just sum it up in one sentence, you want them back and they want to move on. Whereas, before, you knew how to relate to them because you were on the same team. Obviously, you didn't see things in exactly the same way, but you did, fundamentally both want the same thing. To spend time together, to love one another, and build a relationship together. And when that relationship ended, this shared goal totally blew up. And now you want to win them back, to connect them with them again, and show them that you love them and hold them close and all that. But they want time to think. They want to move on, and, most importantly, they probably want to be far away from you. I do hate to say it, but at this point, that's just the facts. And that's ignoring all the other little ways that you saw things differently. Obviously, you didn't see the relationship in the same way even before the breakup, or you never would have broken up in the first place. So you see, you can't even agree on what the relationship was or is, so you really aren't even working from the same basic premise. And this is why having these conversations just doesn't work. You're saying things that make sense to you, and they're ignoring you or getting upset, and you can't understand why. And this is because they may feel like you're trying to make them feel guilty or trying to manipulate them. And essentially, you are, even if you don't know it, because you're trying to force your own lens onto your ex. You're trying to make them understand. So is it hopeless? If there's nothing you can do to change their mind, you should just give up, right? But actually, there is another way to go here. Instead of trying to force the issue, you need to let them figure it out for themselves. I'm telling you that your ex can realize what they lost if you give them the time and space to do so. Since you can't make them see things the way you do, all you can do is start to adopt their perspective more. Now, the first thing you have to do is to disappear. Now, I know this, I say this time and time again, but you really must cut contact with your ex as much as possible. Your ex may have all these thoughts and feelings of who they think you are and what they think they should expect from you. And this is natural because, you have a lot of history together. You've done certain things before and after the breakup to create these kinds of associations. You've treated them in a certain way, so they believe they know what to expect from you. And to change that perspective, you first need to walk away and accept this breakup. And then, you need to stay away for even more weeks, a few weeks or even more while you work on yourself. Start to reestablish who you are and improve your value. And when your ex sees that, the way they think of you is going to start to change. They'll think, hey, they're not who I thought they were. They're actually being really mature about all this. Maybe I made a mistake. Now, I know that this is going to be painful, but you have to be patient. You have to be cool and calm. Now, the good thing is that since you and your ex won't be in touch, they're not going to see the pain that you're going through. So they're going to think that, they're all alone and that you're doing really well without them. And as time passes, they're going to start to miss you. Now, there's something that I want to talk about called confirmation bias. Maybe you've heard about it. This is the tendency to interpret new information as confirmation of your existing beliefs. So confirmation bias means that we're always looking for proof that we already know how the world works. Now, we all do this, even the most open-minded people, so please don't think that you're above it. If we could really have a completely open mind, then we'd never be able to have any sort of understanding of the world, and we'd get completely exhausted just trying to get to work in the morning. So this means that your ex is invested in thinking that you're still the same person that you were before you broke up, and that you're not a very valuable person. So when they send those, few text messages, or they call you that first time, or check your social media, they're looking for proof that you're not good enough. And this is where you have to surprise them. The biggest way to make your ex realize what they lost is to upend their expectations here. So maybe you were a little too desperate, too accommodating, too easy, but if you can shift your behavior a little, you'll really change how they see you, and they'll be forced to face the fact that they were wrong about how they looked at you. Their perspective will start to change because they didn't see the value in you before, and now all of a sudden they're starting to second guess their decision. They're seeing some changes in behavior, and they want to make sure you're still the same person that they knew. And this creates interest in your ex. They're going to want to know more, so they'll be investigating you, and this is going to draw them towards you more and more. I don't know if any of you remember that news story a while ago about the guy who traded a paperclip for a house. Now, this sounds totally fake, but I promise it really happened quite a few years ago. The guy's name was Kyle McDonald, and he's from Montreal. You can look it up. He started with a red paperclip, and he traded it for a pen that looked like a fish, and then he traded that for a handmade doorknob, and traded that for a camp stove, and up until he was able to get a real 2-story house. Now, this is a very smart guy because he understands that value isn't this objective thing. It varies from person to person depending on how they look at the world, their lens. One man's trash is another man's treasure, or house in this case. So when your ex left you, they didn't see your value. To them, you were just that red paperclip. But if you spend that time now, working on yourself, making improvements, doing the unexpected, when they do come back, they're going to be blown away. Your ex is going to see how you've changed, how you're not the person that they thought you were. They thought you were a paperclip, and now you're a house. And really, all it took to get there was a few pivotal changes. Now, you don't have to become an astronaut or a multimillionaire or really anything like that. You can become the version of yourself that's just a little more kind, a little more driven, more reliable, and that is going to be enough. Because remember, your ex once saw you as extremely valuable back in the early days of your relationship. And it's not only about what you do during this time that changes your ex's perspective on you. Essentially, as we touched on before, you two are furthest apart right after the breakup, both emotionally and also in terms of your outlook on the relationship and on one another. This is because, you're both dealing with such strong emotions and your aims are so different. They want to get away from you and you want to get them back. And so you just can't come together right now, no matter how much you want to. You can't bridge that gap. But time and space really is the great equalizer here. It gives you both the chance to slow down, process the breakup, and get some perspective on the situation. Now, many people think that, leaving their ex alone after the breakup is going to be a death sentence. That they'll totally forget about you or they'll move on if you don't keep reminding them of your existence. But really, in all my experience, the opposite is true. By taking this space, you actually give your ex a chance to miss your presence, which makes them want you more than they would have otherwise. It also just helps you move on from them. Not completely. Obviously, if you take some space and you still want them back after a month or two, that's great. But your desire for them is never going to be as acute as it is in those first few days or weeks after the breakup. You'll soon start to see that you can live without your ex, that you're capable of being happy alone, and if you want, capable of finding somebody new. So where does this all leave us? Well, when you do come back together, you won't look at them as your one chance at happiness, and they won't look at you like you're the only thing standing between them and being happy and free. You'll see each other for, what you really are. Exes. And that sounds bad, but really it's not. You'll see that you still care about one another, maybe even still love one another, and you won't feel that need to convince one another to see things any differently. And this is really a moment of connection for the both of you. Now, it won't be as heightened or stressful as it is right now, so you'll be able to reconnect in a more honest and straightforward way without, drama or miscommunications. And more than that, your ex is going to feel, other more complicated feelings when they see, how well you're doing, and that's going to push them even further towards you. I honestly see this all the time. Your ex is just going to realize that they lost out on a huge opportunity. They lost out on someone special. And this is that moment that we talked about. The moment when they're going to regret the breakup and realize that they want you back more than anything else. So remember, while you may feel weak right now, like you're not valuable and you'll never be able to get them back, really, this is all about their own personal lens. And that will change if you just give them space. The way that they see things currently is out of your control. There's nothing you can say to convince them, and you shouldn't even try, because the more you try, the more you're just going to confirm how they see you. You'll look more needy, more desperate, and less valuable with every attempt. And when I talk about giving them space here, guys, I'm not talking just about no contact. I'm also talking about how you react to them when they do come around again. Don't be a puppy dog, all excited to see them and willing to do whatever it takes to make them happy. Don't make them your number one priority. Prioritize your life and your self-respect, and watch as it changes how they look at you. If you can do this, you'll see them naturally start to come to you more and more, and they'll try to impress you rather than you trying to impress them. Because, they're going to realize what they lost. They'll be more willing to fix things because, obviously they'll see the value that you've created. But I do want to hear from you on this. Specifically, how are you trying to improve yourself during this time? Remember, this is so key if you want your ex back. So I'd love to hear some of your concrete plans for self-improvement down in the comments, where you can also leave your questions as well. And if you do want to talk to me one-on-one, the quickest way to do so is to go to breakupbrad.com/coaching and sign up so we can get started right away. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and like this video as well. I really appreciate it, and I will see you again next time.